What's happening, guys? Today we're taking a look at the Orico dual M.2 SATA SSD RAID enclosure, which is a solid aluminum built enclosure that promises fast speeds through a USB 3.1 Gen 2 interface and has hardware RAID 0, RAID 1, and just a bunch of drives or JBOD multiple array modes. This enclosure is running on USB 3.1 Gen 2, promising a bandwidth of 10 gigabits per second, which is pretty decent for SATA drives. But remember, these are theoretical speeds and we'll get more into real-world results later in this review. The unboxing is actually pretty impressive. As soon as you pull down the cover, you are greeted by the aluminium enclosure in a plastic sleeve. You definitely notice the weight when you first pull it out. This is a quality product and you can feel it. It weighs in at 154 grams without any SSDs inside, which is pretty hefty for something of this size. For reference, a Samsung T5 drive weighs in at just 49 grams. So it's clear to see that a lot of weight is coming from that all-solid aluminum construction, which really isn't a bad thing. It gives the enclosure a real sense of heft and solid feel to it. Included in the box, we have a T5 Torx screwdriver, some thermal pads, a USB-C to USB-C cable, a USB-C to USB-A cable, and 2 extra rubber pads for the SSD mount, as well as an extra screw for the lid of the enclosure. We also have a USB-A to DC 5V cable. I have no idea why this is included because in the manual it says that it's not really needed. So I'm guessing if you have some really power-hungry SSDs, maybe that's when you use it. I have no idea. On the front of the enclosure, we have 2 LED indicators for both your drives. And if you pull the lid off, we've got 2 drive slots and 2 RAID array mode selector switches. Above the switches, we have some diagrams showing the various hardware RAID modes that this enclosure supports. So here's a rundown. We have PM or normal mode, where the drives operate independently. Below that, we have RAID 0 mode, where the drives operate in a parallel mode, where the drives are split into many different chunks, but operate as one drive, delivering higher performance because of those parallel lanes being utilized. And underneath that, we have RAID 1 mode, which is a mirroring mode, which allows you to keep a backup of your data at all times. Keep in mind though, that this means that your total effective storage is halved because the other drive is reserved for backing up. Further below that, we have just a bunch of drives or JBOD mode, where both drives are combined to form one singular drive. You do not get any performance advantage here, and as a matter of fact, if a single drive fails, you lose all your data. Now let's get into some speed tests. The drives I'll be using are the Western Digital WD Blue 3D NAND SATA SSD M.2 2280 drives. These are rated to do 560 MB per second reads and 530 MB per second write speeds, which is a pretty healthy sum for a SATA interface SSD. Unfortunately, in all of my testing, I was unable to achieve anywhere near those figures, and the best result I was able to achieve in single disk PM mode was about 386 MB per second write and 454 MB per second read. I tried countless times to format the drives and tried to switch between software and hardware modes, but the result was consistent throughout. And for whatever reason, in RAID 0 mode, I was only able to achieve about 375 MB per second write and 344 MB per second read speeds, which really wasn't great at all. Furthermore, I tried to format and reinitialize the drives countless times, but the best result I was able to achieve in Blackmagic disk speed test was a 432 MB per second write and 445 MB per second read in a software RAID 0 configuration. This is extremely strange because I was only able to get that result once and only once. As soon as I formatted the drive once more, I was never able to replicate that result, hardware or software RAID 0. Overall, the performance from this enclosure was extremely lackluster, and I'm not sure if my enclosure is faulty or there's something wrong somewhere, but trust me guys, I tried absolutely everything you can think of. From switching to different cables, to switching between hardware and software RAID, and formatting the drive countless times, but I could never get a result higher than about 3 gigabits per second write and 2.8 gigabits per second read speed, which is absolutely disappointing. On Orico's website, they promise up to 525 megabytes per second of write and 824 megabytes per second read speeds, which is nowhere close to what I was able to achieve with the WD Blue drives. Now of course the Western Digital Blues are on the lower end, however I still expected to get a better result in RAID 0 mode compared to single disk mode, which I simply did not see. Orico explicitly highlight that the maximum theoretical transfer rate of the SATA interface is 6 gigabits per second, but still, in all of my tests, I only got close to just half of that. Overall, I really wanted to like this product because of the build quality, and it uses the M.2 form factor, which delivers respectable speeds, and the enclosure does not require external power like other Thunderbolt enclosures that run NVMe drives. But unfortunately, my expectations were completely crushed, and I cannot recommend this product simply because an external portable SSD like a Samsung T5 or T7 will give you better performance and at a more affordable cost. So there you have it, guys. It's a complete thumbs down from me. I really wanted to like this enclosure because it had some really cool features like hardware RAID modes, which is pretty uncommon in this class. But unfortunately, it just hasn't delivered on any of its promises where it matters. And I don't know if my unit is faulty, but I have contacted Orico to get customer support. Perhaps I will upload a follow-up video if I do hear back from them and we're able to resolve this. Thanks for watching, and I hope that this review video has been insightful to you. If you haven't already done so, then make sure to hit that subscribe button and hit the bell icon to get notified when I upload new videos. It's absolutely free, guys. Catch you folks in the next one.